Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.
Right, wherever it is you're watching around the world, this is Enterprise Weekend on Enterprise TV. I am Henry Igwebike. Right about now, we'll be going to our newspaper headlines to see what they have for us, and right after that, we'll be in conversation for this morning. With me in the studios to do justice and shed light on our newspaper reviews today is Barrister Evans Ufeli. He is an attorney and also a public affairs analyst. You're welcome.
Good morning.
To Enterprise Weekend today.
Thank you.
Good morning to you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so straight up, let's move straight to our daily for today, and starting up from the Nation newspaper. The big story there says Supreme Court dashes PDP's hopes in Ogun, Kaduna and Nasarawa State. And the right we have upholds election of Abiodun, Sani, Sule, Yahaya, Idris and Oborewori. And also still on the right, we have PDP supporters protest court verdict in Lafia. Respect court's decision, Sule tells Nasarawa people have victory impetus to more, says Abiodun. And on the top strip of the same newspaper, we have Emefiele pleads not guilty as corruption trial begins February 12. Ibadan explosion, more body parts recovered. And on the down sleeve of the same newspaper, we have police arrest Abuja kidnappers. Barrister, let's talk about this big issue here, which says Supreme Court dashes PDP hopes in Ogun, Kaduna and Nasarawa. Now, I'd love us to take it from two angles. Number one, from the reportage from the Nation newspaper. You know, it seems to be, it seems to be looking like it is being funny with the headline there. Supreme Court dashes PDP hopes in Ogun. So let's talk about the reportage first. Do you think it's worth making fun of PDP, which it appears the Nation newspaper is making it look like?
I think the Nation's editorial team are just being cheeky. The headline, you can't actually hold a press house to ransom or to court or litigation based on headlines, because under defamation, slander and libel, there's what we call part of the exceptions.
Okay.
That's what we call sarcasm and,
okay.
and innuendos.
So that is permitted?
Yeah, innuendos and sarcasms are permitted. They are entertaining. They are just a way of drawing attention of readers to engage in the story. You understand?
Yeah.
So, when you say Supreme Court dashes their hope, I mean, it looks like there's a calculated vindictive attempt by the Supreme Court to bring PDP down. True. But that's not the case here. If you look at the case all through, especially the reasons given by the Supreme Court, from Nasarawa to Delta to... In the case of Nasarawa, the tribunal actually, held that PDP won the election.
Okay.
In Nasarawa.
Yeah.
But now the Supreme Court has turned that over. Okay. If you look at Delta, the tribunal affirmed Oborewori Sheriff. The Court of Appeal did that, and the Supreme Court did that too. Okay. So in some cases, the tribunal went this way, at the tribunal level, at the Court of Appeal went the other way, and then the Supreme Court went the other way. So we've seen it all and up and all. So the main issue here is that many of them, these election tribunals, or many of the cases, the parties were contesting substantial non-compliance.
Okay, and what does that mean?
Yeah, substantial non-compliance is when you say that as a result of the Electoral Act, okay, the election was not conducted in line with the Electoral Act. Okay. Meaning that there were issues of breach of the Electoral Act. Okay, so if these are the things you are putting forth to the tribunal, to the court, it's usually very difficult. It's usually very difficult to find your way through. You know why? Okay. Just like in the Delta State, for example, APC contended that part of the ballot papers that were counted for sheriff were not, had no serial number, had no INEC serial number. Do you understand? That is substantial non-compliance, irregularities.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, because that's irregularities, what you have to do now is the Supreme Court will have to look at the issue. The Supreme Court now looked at the issue and said, there are two layers. First, you prove substantial non-compliance. The second layer is that you have to prove how the substantial non-compliance of the Electoral Act affected the outcome. In the case under reference, the APC, the Supreme Court said that even if those ballot papers that were not serially, no serial number and all that, even if they were to be, removed from sheriffs, it did not affect the margin of lead. You still didn't win as as a candidate. You understand? So, assuming we're not considering that those papers should be voided, if they are voided, you still did not win. You understand? Because we take them off based on, you said the following numbers, and other issues canvassed.
Yeah.
You understand? So it's a case of clear justice for me, because the precedents are there from 2007 down to now. The precedents are there that you prove to. You see, the best way to find your footing under election petition is to attack the adverse party's qualification. Yes. If you attack his qualification, you attack his nomination. You attack his membership of the party. These are areas that if you can hold on proper, if you have good evidence, you are most likely going to scale through. Check all the cases where qualification and the nomination, the person is not validly nominated, or that those cases are most likely the cases you have breakthrough.
But if you
compare it to cases where you are talking about just substantial non-compliance that are in 18 polling units, for example, there were no elections, or they fought here, they fought there, they fought there. You understand? When you put that forth, you see, because the Supreme Court knows that, or the court is aware that there's no perfect election anywhere. So what they are looking for is just substantial compliance with the Electoral Act, not absolute compliance with the Electoral Act.
Now, if you base your submission on that, I would love us to take a clear example of Plateau State, for example.
Yes.
Caleb, the APC are saying that he joined the PDP at a duration that he wasn't supposed to have joined the PDP. And now the Supreme Court is saying that that is a case of party. It's not in the rights of the court to do that. But you just said that you can get some win from this particular issue.
I'm saying for you to, it's an instance I give, that it is easier for you to attack nomination, qualification, and say the person submitted a fraudulent certificate and all those is better. For the case of nomination, it's actually pre-election. That's why I said I'm giving you an instance. It's a party issue. Now, look at it. If I am having problem within my party, maybe the way I emerge, there's a problem within my party.
Yeah.
The only person who can go and get me down is somebody from my party.
Not the opposition.
Not you, whom I contested against from another political party. That's what the Supreme Court is saying.
Oh, okay.
It does not mean that if there is what you call caucus or within the party, and I was nominated by one part, and the other part goes to court, and if it's improper, they can actually get me down. That is within the level at primaries. But if the party have already agreed and brought out one person, someone from the adverse party cannot go to court and challenge nomination. You know why?
Okay.
Because there are three lawyers stated by the what do you call it now, the Electoral Act, through which a candidate can emerge or not be nominated. One is by consensus. You understand? The other is by, voting.
Yeah.
And then the third one is where the party itself have agreed that this particular candidate is the candidate of their choice, and other candidates who have withdrawn have written and signed nominating that particular candidate. So when that happens, it means the party have agreed on the candidate. So it does not lie in your mouth as an adverse party who have contested general election to now go to court and begin to challenge that nomination from another party. That is what happened in Plateau State.
Well, that seems to be a bit conflicting, because I still remember very vividly talking about the issue of margin. Let's take Ogun State, for example. The difference between Abiodun and the other person at Deputu is less than 10,000 votes.
Yes.
And Deputu is saying that there was clearly malpractices during the elections, and 10,000 votes, that obviously that he won the elections. Now, let us take it back to the case of Uzodimma, who was allowed to become the governor, on the case of margin too. So I want you to make sense of these two issues.
Who became, at his first time, as his first tenure.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, you see, when you make such comparison, you have to be careful. Uzodimma's first tenure was regulated by the Electoral Act 2010.
Oh, okay.
Yes. This particular one is regulated by the Electoral Act 2022.
Oh,
okay, 2020. Okay. Now, look at the issues here. For Uzodimma, after the elections, he went to court and contended that a huge chunk of his vote were not counted.
Margin, that is.
Yes.
Okay.
The margin, a huge chunk, that if that part of his vote were counted by the court, he won the election. Because he came out fourth, ordinarily, when INEC declared the election.
Yes.
Now, when he went to court, he now took a counterpart copy that was issued to police, because after they count everything, when they feed, they issue one to the police, issue one to the party agents, and INEC will go with one. Now, when he was to present evidence, okay, he couldn't get it from his party agent, so he took the one from police that they issued to police, and adduced that as the evidence before the court. Now, what happened was that the court looked at it. The adverse party did not contend it, did not contest it.
Whoa.
Yes, they did not object the admissibility of that result. You understand? This is a counterpart copy from the police.
Yes.
Now, where evidence are not objected, okay, it does not lie in the mouth of the court to throw it out.
Wow. So it's assumed to be...
Now, the court can so much to say it will not admit. Do you understand? But in this case, this is an evidence that emanated from INEC. Okay. INEC have proper custody. It's just a duplicate copy that was issued to police. So, since it was not contended by the adverse party, the court looked at it, counted those number of votes, and added it to what is called ordinary. And he won the election by that, but people go about saying that he came out fourth and he became governor. That's not true. He came out first, actually, because he went to contend that election. Okay, now if you compare it with the Ogun State, current to Ogun State issue, the issue still lies in the fact that you are contesting number of votes. That there was disruption, irregularity here and there.
And that was why he couldn't...
Now, but the Supreme Court said he couldn't prove it. He couldn't prove it because you have to prove how many polling units. He identified how many polling units. Then the particulars of those polling units. During cross-examination, what will happen is this. If you say, I didn't win an election, that there was malpractice, fine. How many local government are you saying I didn't win an election? The court will ask you, you say 17. Fine. Now, this 17, can you prove this? You bring documents to show how that there were malpractice, that there were no elections, and I won and all that. So, if they cross-examine you to the effect that your agents that you are bringing as witnesses, they will have to tell what happened on that day. Some of these agents don't even know the name of the returning officer. They don't know how many ballot papers vote were cast in their units. You understand? You see, if you give a lawyer time, a lawyer can demolish anything if you give him time. Election petition is not about who voted or who did not vote. We are saying that something irregular happened. The person who is saying it must prove that truly there was irregularities. And if he is unable to prove it, the court will not manufacture evidence for you. and then make you to win an election. That's what happened to Peter Obi. At some point, Peter Obi was saying that, they took my vote and gave it to Tinubu. The court now said, okay, we've heard you. That could be true. But how many votes? How many states? How many local governments? How many polling units? How many wards? No particulars. So the Supreme Court will now go and now start to write this thing for you and give you to win election.
So even if
the court is not a church, Nigerians think that the court is a church. It's not a church that you go, you have your sins forgiven. Those who trespass against you and those who you trespass against, everybody is forgiven because it's a house of moral detoxification. The court is not a house of moral detoxification. The court is a house of logic, law, principles, and if you do not have what it takes to stand the fire of the reasoning of the court, it does not matter how many people gather. Nigerians go about saying the Supreme Court is this, the Supreme Court did that, the Supreme Court threw this, the Supreme Court threw. I have recommended in one of the programs that the next election, they should amend the Electoral Act so that members of the public will join the judges to determine election. You see these public members of the they will run away. When we see what you are, so that at the end of the day, we'll say Peter Obi won or this person won because of settlement. Because in our mind, we feel he's the one that will change Nigeria. Which Nigeria?
Let's move to our next daily, and this is coming from Saturday Punch, and the big story there says how bandits are terrorizing Abuja hide in Kaduna forest abandoned by a military. And on the right, we have kidnappers exploits porous unmanned burden between vast forest and in Niger, Nasarawa, and FCT. And also we have police deploy 600 personnel to prosecute special anti-terrorist operations. The military says camps still in use. And on the top of the same newspaper, we have over 87 FCT residents killed, 176 kidnapped under Tinubu. Barrister, let's take a look at security issues in Nigeria. Of course, making rave of the moment right now is what's happening in the FCT. The FCT is seemingly becoming the next Kaduna and Maiduguri, and it's so very unfortunate. Now, record says that 87 FCT residents killed, 176 kidnapped under Tinubu. And it seems like our president is not budged about all of this. Do you think there is something he is not telling us, or do you think his attention to them or his dexterity in managing security is different from what we've had in the last administration?
You know, William Shakespeare said, when a beggar died, there's no comment seen, but heaven themselves blessed for the death of a prince. Now they are disturbing us because the kidnappers have invaded Abuja, where the big men are. They are disturbing us. Whereas kidnapping have been going on in every state in Nigeria, unabated. Now there's an alarm because the thing is coming close.
But that's the FCT.
Yes, that's the FCT. That's going to be the kidnapping will be deepening more in the FCT because neither the FCT nor the states in Nigeria, we don't have security. Okay, and the government isn't doing much about it. Okay, the economy is worsening every day. Where there is high rate of crime. Okay, if you look at the economy, you usually find that the economic downturn instigates crime. So it's a natural propensity that you're going to have a rise in crime when the government is failing in our fiscal and monetary policy and the welfare of the people. So it's given. Now, it's not just in Abuja. A friend of mine was kidnapped I traveled 2 days ago. Okay, they're asking,
in Abuja?
No, not in Abuja, in Delta.
Okay.
They're asking for, decided asking for 5 million. So another friend of ours who was, gracious, offered that he would pay the money, give the wife the money. And when they called the wife again, the kidnappers, he quickly told them that he has the money with her. So with that, they felt that there's money, and now they're asking for 20. They said it's no longer 10 as 20, and they were going to kill him this evening. Yesterday, they said tomorrow, that's today, if the money is not provided. So we are all running up and down. looking for, as you see me now, I'm looking for money.
But remember they said we shouldn't crowdfund ransom.
Anyway, that's what Wike said now at the FCT. But he has not also shown us how to get those who are already kidnapped out without ransom. You see, because if you say they shouldn't pay ransom, in fact, there was a time they debated at the National Assembly that they are going to make a law against it. Anybody who pay will be prosecuted. You understand? I know they also drop it off because they know that, see, if you have not provided alternative for a man, you cannot challenge his way of solving his problem. You understand? Kidnap is a difficult thing to talk about. You understand? Now, at the LCT, immediately Tinubu got into power. It has increased.
And why do you think so?
Subsidy is gone now.
So you mean
the economy, see, we started living 300% higher than we're living before he entered. You see, the ripple effect of stupidity will cost you, see, thoughtlessness. When a man is thoughtless, he's finished. When a man talks before he thinks, he's finished. So that is why in the olden days, they don't allow you to manage anybody if you are thoughtless. That's why Socrates said that the only people who should lead is the Leviathan, the philosophers. You know why? Because if someone who is not intellectually fermented leads, people will suffer. The Bible says it now, that when the righteous in power, the people rejoice. Okay? See, if it takes a lot to lead, if you are not pensive, thoughtful, and calculative, you shouldn't lead even a soul. You understand? If you look at Game of Thrones, for example, the most stupid people in the clans, in Westeros, the most stupid people, you know what they do to them? They kill them. Because one stupid man can raise this whole structure down. But because of civilization and democracy, what they do is to, when they make such, they prosecute them and put them in prison. Penitentiaries, because society has developed, they no longer kill them. Yes. So, the school of thought that the leaders must only be the Leviathan king, the one that is thoughtful. That's what is required. The increase, I don't know why people are surprised that the kidnapping have increased. They were kidnapping people when we were living at a period where we're buying most of the items we buy today, less than 300%.
That is what I'm saying.
They were kidnapping them.
Yes.
So, when you don't increase the price, it's like what Olarotimi said in the Gods and Not Blame, that if crocodile will eat his own eggs, what will he do with the flesh of the frog? You understand? So, life was hard.
But the truth of the matter...
Before now, he now came and made it harder. So what will happen?
But the truth of the matter, Barrister, you will agree with me that this is a case of morality. Because if someone who has a very good moral standard, no matter the type of defect, economic defect that he has, he wouldn't stoop so low to wanting to do that. So a criminal is a criminal. Take a criminal to the most stable economy, he would still want to be a criminal. Yes. So I think it's very important for us to draw that line.
Yes, it's important. Yeah. Yes, I'm not making a case for or justifying criminality or kidnapping. Of course, that's not my way. I couldn't have done that. But I'm saying that we will have less people in crime. Where you see, there are different kind of criminals. There are circumstantial criminals. They are habitual criminals. You are talking about habitual criminals, okay? Just like in Iceland now. In Iceland, there's zero crime rate in Iceland because it's unreasonable to commit crime. Because...
Is it a case of the system?
The system, yeah.
Okay.
The system, there's redistribution of wealth, okay? The commonwealth of the country, you can sit down and go online and look at how much the country earns and determine how much is yours inside there. And it will come to you. It will go to your account. It will go to your welfare. It will go to your business. You can determine that by virtue of a system. You understand? So they had to pull workers who were working in the 90s, they had a lot of crime there. You understand? There are no prisons in Iceland as we speak now.
Okay.
There are no prisons. So those who work in prison, they move them away. Even in Netherlands, most of the Scandinavians, Finland, there's zero crime rate. Now, those who now commit crime, those are the ones that are called habitual criminals.
Oh, okay.
You understand? Those ones who have some level of distortion. And if you go deep, they steal what they have. And they steal what they don't need. You understand? Those ones, they take them into rehabilitation. You understand? So, but in Nigeria, we have both circumstantial criminals and habitual criminals. They are mixed up. There are those who are criminals by virtue of need. There are those who are criminals by virtue of their wickedness. So, all crime is crime and it's forbidden. Nobody should go into crime, no matter the level of economic downturn. Okay. But can you make the same preachment to 200 million people plus and then have them to comply? That is wrong to commit an offense.
So what do you think the president can do now? What do you think he can do now to curb that?
What they want to do, what they want to do is to address the issue from the top. That is to get more security forces, get more intelligence, fight and combat them, arrest them and prosecute them. That's what the federal government wants to do. The federal government is not doing anything about bettering the economy. They are not doing anything about the welfare of the citizens, okay, which is also a concomitant solution providing area.
Oh, okay.
As much as you want to combat the criminals, dislodge them, make sure that you use intelligence to put them, because since the state have monopoly of violence, apply violence against them. But much more than applying violence against them, get the economy to start running. The economy is moribund as we speak. It's not running. Okay, I was in one of the government offices, an office that is not just a very small space like this. And I was told that some coppers have been sent into the place. Okay, so I was looking maybe I'll have maybe 2-3 persons whom they have asked me to interview. I don't work there just so they sent 20 coppers there. 20 people. So I said, 20 of you for this place. What I'm trying to say is that the people who are coming behind, okay, there are no space for those who are settled already.
Who are active.
Who are settled. Now, that you have, so the welfare of the citizen, which is the primary purpose of government, is not being addressed. And when you're not addressing the welfare of the people, what you have is crisis. Our population is not too much to manage.
True.
You understand? We don't have the system to so manage it. Okay, look at the funds that was meant for humanitarian services and all that, and the ministries. Look at what we're having now. The current and the previous, the successive and the previous minister are immersed in, scandals. Okay, these are the leakages. Now look at the crude theft, oil theft. Look at that. Now look at other leakages all over the country.
So if all added together, it could go a long way to...
It will go a long way. The money that they said that the few persons, took already. But if you put it together, it has the capacity to build us hospital and develop society. But few persons are not ready to make things work for us. So that is where we are.
All right. So let's finally go to the Guardian newspaper, which happens to be our last daily for today. And the big story there says discordant tunes over Tinubu's plan to deploy forest guards to curb kidnapping. And on the top slip of the same newspaper, we have women still suffer exclusion when it comes to access to land and other natural resources. And on the downslip of the same newspaper, we have a governorship tussle. Supreme Court affirms election victories for 6 governors. And Barrister, let's talk a bit about, of course, I would love us to still continue that discourse. Of course, it made headline stories on the Guardian newspaper. But before we go into that, I'd love us to tilt a little bit to the issue of gender, and we have a story here that says women still suffer exclusion when it comes to access to land and other natural resources. Now, let's talk about this in relation to our culture in Africa, and particularly in Nigeria. We live in a climate, especially our culture, where the man is often seen as the head of the home, the heir, apparent, and so on and so forth. So how do you think we can bridge the gap and balance the issue of gender equality when it comes to resources in Nigeria?
Well, I don't even know where they found that thing that a man is the head of the home.
Well, it's traditional. Isn't it?
For the Nigerian case, it's not even traditional. It's quite religious. Some of them say they saw it in the Bible. But that's not even what is in the Bible in Ephesians 6:22. Is it 5:6:22 or thereabout? What is there is that the man is the head of the wife, not the house. Nigerians will not read. They will just look at it, say it's the head of the house. It's the head of the wife. That's what he says in that. Then for tradition, okay, most tradition, they believe that the male child is superior to the female child. And therefore, whatever resources that is of inheritance to go to the male child. That is a culture that perpetuates inequality, because the Constitution have already breached those gaps. Okay, that a citizen is a citizen, whether male or female. Okay. Okay, and that is why there's this case in the East. This woman who took his brothers to court. Okay, and the Supreme Court, they took it all through to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled that the woman have a right to own properties.
But that's just a singular case. Do you think it's going to be...
No, the thing is this. See, culture plays a role when it has to do with traditional matters. But when the court have made a pronouncement, it's not left for the person, the woman who is aggrieved, to use the precedent to fight her case. Because the fact that the court have made a pronouncement does not mean it's automatic. If the court had made a pronouncement and the woman who went to court then got justice and got what she wanted, you understand? It does not follow that every woman, they will not throw it to her. So because the Supreme Court that day said this thing, so take this is they will not. So it's left for her.
She has to fight for it.
Yes, she has to go to court and ensure that she gets, see, most culture believe that because the woman is going to be married out.
Yeah.
There's this presumption that the woman must marry, must be out of the family. What of the woman who decides not to marry? So you now take her inheritance from her. It's wrong. Whether she's marrying here or there, whether it's going whatever it is, she should have a portion of whatever it is that is. In most culture, nothing goes to her at all. Nothing, like nothing.
True.
So in that kind of culture, how do you expect those who perhaps are not married to feel within the circle? They are human beings too. So there's always this push that she does not. In fact, in some cases they will ask her to go to her home, that this place is not her home. You can imagine somebody that was born in a family, they'll be telling her that family is not her home. Where's her home? I want to understand where her home is, because of the presumption that she must be married and she has to move into so part of these practices are things that should be abolished.
But Barrister, it's also easy to talk about this, especially coming from your experience, but I'd love us to drag it to politics. Now, you would agree with me when two candidates come up and are vying for the same post, yes. And we have a woman and we have a man. There's always this tilt towards the man, which is equally what we're talking about.
Yes, I understand.
If you ever hear that a woman is going to be the governor of your state, everybody says, God forbid, even the most literate people. They make it look like it is not yet time. And
that's because of the level of awareness. Okay, in Sierra Leone, not too long ago, a woman led the country for about how many years? In Sierra Leone. In Brazil, look at England, okay, though a monarchy and all that. Even in the woman was a prime minister not too long ago. Before Shasuna.
Yes,
so there is nothing a man can do that a woman cannot do. There's nothing. And I don't believe in this. I don't believe we should subscribe to this thing that under our political engagement, that when a woman wants to be governor, there were people who start fighting. In fact, you have more women against that woman.
True.
And I'm wondering, I say, because if you want to play politics by merit and by number, there are more women.
True. Yeah.
In fact, men will not have any role.
True.
You understand?
Very true.
If they are going to align by gender, and they say, okay, we want to vote our gender, men will not even win any elections. Okay? So the women first, it will start from the women first must define their place, okay, politically. You know, nobody will come and call you from your house to come and contest election. The politics is about participation. You have to be, even if you are not, you have to follow them. You understand? You have to keep, and those women who have followed through, many of them have emerged either speaker, some of them a house member, from whichever. I mean, look at our National Assembly, you have women. House of Assembly, you have women. Commissioners, there are women, okay? So what the society should do is to make legislation to increase women's participation. And then also to make sure that this issue of discrimination against women there should be severe punishment against discrimination against women. Look at how the Lagos State, for example, taking the issue of gender violence. Lagos State, if they build more blocks on it, that discrimination too, and all that, making utterances that degrades women and all that. By the time before you know it, we'll be growing to the level where women can freely contest as much as men will contest. And one of the things militating against women too is the resources, the funds. Yes, and if a man goes to the bank to, get loan, and a woman, they most likely want to give a man. So the system too, the institutions must also know that every person is important. And there's a reason why it said that male and female created he them, and he gave them dominion, equal power to a young girl who is recluse in a village that's cut out from civilization, have the same intensity of imagination than a child born in England. The difference might be the environment.
True.
You understand? So they will all be the same. And if we set that agenda, we will civilize and develop more. Just check countries that give women opportunity. We will civilize and develop more. I would rather that the woman become, for example, if you give a woman, I do a lot of social experiments. If you give a woman ₦1 million, for example, the tendency that ₦1 million will trickle down to her children, to even children that not belong to her.
And to the husband,
it will be more valuable than giving it to a man. Okay? That might be discrimination too. Because you may be trying to solve the women's problem, you might create another one. Okay? So, but you give it to a man, maybe 30% or 40% of that money can go to Niger beds, 20% to
personal
drugs,
stuff. Yeah, exactly.
And all that. So we want to manage the situation on both sides that male and female, there should be no discrimination.
All right, so for the want of time, in 30 seconds, please, do you think it's ludicrous for the president to say he is planning to deploy forest guards to curb kidnapping?
These people will not see. They are from community police. That's community police.
Yeah, exactly.
Which they have refused to make it. They are still going back there. You see, one thing about federalism is this. Federalism, once you refuse to implement it fully, the circumstances and situations in your hand will force you into it. It will force you into it. Because what they are saying now is that the region should have their own policing. Of course, exactly. It's not going to be federal government now. They attempted, you have a Moteku here, you have Eastern Network there, you have all over there, ISBA in the north and all that. These are community police, state police. So if you are going to deploy these persons are better able to manage kidnappers because they are in the region. Nobody kidnap anyone from here and then go and
takes them to Ghana.
To Ikeja, for example, to the center of the city. When they kidnap is bush, you understand? So if you use villagers, farmers, hunters, and they are trained, you understand? You also have to be careful.
That
Yeah, because some of the farmers, hunters, and all that
could
become the conduit pipe, who feed the kidnappers, and they will share loot.
and that boils down to ensuring that our economy is well off. So
Yes, the economy is well off. The community where they're going to have this, the king of the community must endorse who, because in every community they know who is who.
Exactly.
If something is missing, they'll just say, go to that family, go and call that guy, let him bring that thing. They know. So the king, the whatever, you must have a guarantor, somebody must filter who are employed, they must know who they are employing, because sometimes these people will also be more problem. Already, there are people who provide facilities for the kidnappers, who give them land. And after they finish, they get the ransom, they part away with something. So you already have, in law we call them accomplices, accessories after the fact. Those who provide facilities for them and all that, they are all there in our various societies. So before you rush to, because I know this government very well, before they rush and say we want to use community people, there must be proper scrutiny of who should be on that list and who should not be.
Exactly. So that's just about the time we have for our newspaper reviews today. I'd love to say thank you to Barrister Evans Ofeli for being part of our morning show today. So when we come back, alleged procurement fraud, Emefiele pleads not guilty to amended counter charge. More details in a bit when we return. Please don't go anywhere.